Well, we've had a really fun time the month of February talking about all these different aspects of living and being and relating that are so perfectly fitting into this month, because not only has it been the month where we celebrate Valentine's Day halfway through, but it's a month that focuses a lot on love and relationships. And we know, as do lots of people, that those concepts apply to every aspect of being. And they're a really fun territory to explore in metaphysics. Later on in my notes, I mentioned that universal truth is a little bit confounding because it is found everywhere and it applies to everything. You will have these moments when you're exploring that are a little bit overwhelming. It's like, wait a minute, I was only looking at this part. and I'm going to just make a little note and come back to that. Because once you start to explore the infinite responds to that exploration, and pretty soon you're flooded with great ideas. So write them down and come back to them. Because truth is universal, and it's going to be found everywhere you are and everywhere you look. So this week, to end our time looking at relationships, meaning the experience of being in relationship with our Creator, with ourselves, and one another, which is they're all parts of one relationship, one beingness. Today's talk is called Beyond the Honeymoon. And, as usual, what I thought it was going to be about changed since I published the title. That's a given. So Beyond the Honeymoon started out as this idea that we might look a little bit about what do you do for that in that part of life which is beyond the really exciting beginning. What do you do in that place? And the truth is that I have some things to share about that. And first, I want to spend some time in the honeymoon. And I'll tell you why that is. That is because each of us has this opportunity, because we're here, living, breathing, being, to experience the law of attraction, to experience and take part in the creative process in a way that is extremely marvelous, that is unique to the experience of being human, of being a spiritual being having a human experience, that is unique to this environment which we refer to as time and space. It's delicious. So rather than skipping right over that, as I went into preparing for this morning, I thought, well, gee, let's spend some time there. So, spending some time there. There's an interesting thing that happens any time we get an idea, any time we consider a possibility. Now, it can be likened to our attraction to an individual. It can be likened to our attraction to an idea of any sort, perhaps of a project, of something that we would like to create, something that we would love to do. The moment we glimpse that idea, something happens. It's really extraordinary. What happens is that it's as if we're glimpsing inside a seed. It's as if we're able to look for a moment into this crystal ball almost and see the whole thing fully formed. We see every possibility. Now, if you can bring to mind a situation or a scenario where you had a creative idea, sometimes it might be the memory of meeting a person, sometimes it might be the memory of starting a foundation, it might be the memory of the moment you decided to move here from somewhere else, or perhaps make a career change, or embark on something. But think about it. In that moment when we explore an idea, we are able to look into it and imagine every possibility without limit. We're able to see that whole thing fully formed before it's even happened yet. That's what's inside a seed. And an idea is a type of seed. In every seed thought, in every idea, when it comes forth initially, it is power-packed with everything that it requires to be made fully manifest. It has a blueprint inside it. It has a genetic coding. It has everything required. All of the designs, all of the instructions, all of the plan of care, if you will, the owner's manual, everything, all the way to everything it can possibly become is already contained within that seed. That's what it is that we're glimpsing when we get an idea. And one of the things that I noticed is that we have this magnificent enthusiasm that is so disproportionate to what's going on right now that we might even be annoying. We might just be a little bit alarming to our friends because we just get so excited. Remember, this was really easy to do as a child, and many of us have learned to tone it down, pull back a little bit. For a long time, when I was realizing how much my passion, for new ideas and creativity mattered to me, I'd even get angry at anyone who suggested that I be cautious. I would get upset and frustrated with anyone who asked me to slow down and give it some more time, give it some more thought. And I understand that's almost like it's a primal thing, because I recognize that possibility and I wanted to run with it. Okay, so I'm getting some smiling and nodding, and I think you understand that each idea, when it comes to you in that moment, in that way, is packed with possibility. There's a reason why it comes in that moment. There's a reason why it comes in that way. We are connected with something that gave rise to us, and is responding also to our thoughts and our desires and our dreams. And then they show up as more thoughts and desires and dreams. Who knows? There is no line. Who knows what that connection really looks like? But when we desire something, when we dream of it, Spirit responds to us. I remember when we talked early on about founding this center, we would remind ourselves often, this is Spirit's idea first. And then we said, yeah, that sounds great, And there was that magnificent sense of possibility and potential. And we went for it, and we did crazy things that just didn't work out on paper, made no sense at all, risks other people wouldn't take, move across the country again, on and on and on. Because that idea was so compelling. Okay, so we know all about compelling ideas. Got that part. Well, the other part is that they arrive when the circumstances are ripe. They arrive when the circumstances are ripe. So, when that idea comes, when that dream or desire just emerges, wakes you up in the middle of the night, or breaks in on the conversation you thought you were having, it comes at the moment when all of the circumstances, all the environment, the situations, everyone and everything around you is in perfect alignment to be most supportive of its fulfillment. That is another inexplicable part of what nature does. I remember when we were back at the school in sometime between September and November, I talked about Raymond Hollowell. He wrote a book called Working with the Law. And there's one of the sections in there is about the law of attraction. And he said, you cannot desire a thing unless it is within your reach. Until it is within your reach. So if you haven't heard me say that before, consider the possibility that when you have a desire, when you have a big idea, it is perfectly timed. And it is not something that that you need to just continue to dream about and work on. It's actually an announcement from your higher self. It's an announcement of some sort saying Now is the time for that thing. Another way to look at it is that we can't recognize something until it is somehow within our own vocabulary. So when we do see a possibility out there, when we recognize something and resonate with it and say, yeah, I'd like that, that is at the time when we are equipped to be one with it. We are equipped to experience it. You can see why I didn't want to get to the beyond the honeymoon part, because this is too much fun. Our personal relationship with the Creator, with creation, our personal creative power as thinking, feeling individuals is so extraordinary. And because that is a universal truth, and the one that we focus on here the most, it's the one you'll hear the most about when you come here. And that's great, because it applies to every area of life. Okay, so now we know the big idea is not a passing fancy. It's actually perfectly timed and perfectly tailored to who we are and where we are. And when we get that desire, it is an announcement of perfect conditions. It is an announcement of possibility. It is an announcement. Get out of your seat. It's time. This is it. It is announcing the alignment of conditions for this thing to be made manifest. Now, you may have some grandmothers and aunts and even brothers and sisters and friends who say, oh, there she goes again. There he goes again. Doing the ridiculous, the seemingly impossible. And perhaps as well, perhaps your enthusiasm is just almost unnerving because, oh, there's stuff to do. There's important daily business to take care of. Never mind that. You'll have time for it. Follow that idea. One reason I say that is because if we listen to what we would call reason, if we listen to caution, if we heed doubt, if we decide to take a little more time and investigate a little bit more thoroughly, remember one thing. It's possible that those perfect conditions environmentally, those perfect circumstances, the perfect cast of characters, it isn't the last time they'll show up. This might be the only time they're in this configuration. Or perhaps it won't happen again for some time. We could say, I think I'll pass on this one, and next time the conditions are ripe, I'll go for it. We have that freedom. However, they are ripe right now, at the moment of that desire. I remember there was something from the Australian guy in The Secret about acting in the moment, about responding to that idea right away. The universe creates instantly. So we are free to investigate and to delay. And we might be wise to become very efficient at that, so that we can take the time to reflect on that opportunity, how it relates to us, and still act upon it if it feels right, while the conditions are right. That's what we can do. Because what happens next is the honeymoon. What happens next is the honeymoon. Think about it. Right now, as far as our ability to envision and imagine, we can see more and further in greater detail than at any other time. Right? That's part of it. The other part is that not only can we see all that infinite potential, but circumstances are absolutely optimal right now. Wouldn't that be the greatest moment of all, to enter into partnership with that power and take action? Imagine if you wait and then you leap. Will the net appear later? Hope so. No threats here. But if we wait, we deny ourselves the exquisite opportunity to be in partnership with infinite power, spot-on guidance, huge vision, perfect circumstances, and the ride of our lives, if we act then, that's the honeymoon. You think about it, whether you fall in love with the idea of starting a foundation or entering into a romantic relationship with someone, or maybe taking on a new course of study, or allowing yourself to really spend time doing something that you love, that you've put aside. In those moments, that partnership is the ultimate marriage. It's heaven and earth, and you are the one representing earth. The other thing, just to get back to the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the universal law in all of its forms, its support is so great. All it can ever do is say yes. I know Deepak Chopra refers to this as the law of least effort. This is when we call upon that thing that always says yes, that automatically delivers, and we don't even have to sweat. Again, this is the time when that power is most aligned with this desire, and we are cooperating with the fullness of it because right now we can see it in its biggest form. This is the time to take action. So that's the honeymoon. Good news is, if we say yes, if we say I do, if we jump in and go for that thing, we'll have a wonderful time getting started creating something new in our lives. And we'll have so much success. We'll feel like Hercules. We'll feel like, well, let's see, who was the strongest goddess? Was it Athena? I can't remember. Anyway, we'll feel like gods and goddesses. We'll feel very powerful. We'll accomplish a lot. And it will bolster our ability to imagine and believe as we move forward. What else happens is that there's just as much perfection around the corner when the honeymoon is over. There's just as much guidance and power available to us in the next phase of every life. Remember, every seed has within it all that it requires to be made fully manifest. And what happens is that something called the law of growth kicks in. I've mentioned this before as well. It's part of the ancient Hermetic philosophy. Thomas Trower talks about it. And somebody else, not Bob Proctor, but Think and Grow Rich. Anyway, lots of people have reflected on this idea because it is universal. It is timeless. It is so valid. The law of growth kicks in, which means that whatever we created starts to call for what it needs. It calls for what it desires and requires. It behaves one way when its needs are met, and another way when they aren't, right? This could be a plant, a child, a cat, a dog. It could be a friend. It could be a project. If you really think about it, every life will tell you what it needs. And also, everything we create needs will be both recognizable to us and available to us. So we haven't been left high and dry at all. That thing which we created knows what it needs and will let us know. And we are imbued with the capacity to recognize it, to learn it very quickly. And we are also given all the direction that we need to find our way to whatever is required for this continuation. So the law of growth kicks in. Eventually, that thing that we create takes on a life of its own, and it begins to take care of itself, and we can turn towards what we're ready to create next. This is actually the point when I said, the revelations start to come so quickly that it's almost unclear as to which path to go down, because these ideas apply to all of us. Whether we take one role or the other, they apply to every aspect of our own lives. So the neat thing about Beyond the Honeymoon is that whatever we create will let us know what it needs next. It will let us know, we'll be able to recognize it, and we will be directed as to where to find that. And if we do switch roles for a minute and think of ourselves for a moment as the created, which we also are, the same holds true. We came here. We are here living now. We are equipped with everything we require to be made fully manifest and realized. Whatever potential we haven't yet tapped, the good news is that those inspiring moments, those ideas, those perfect sets of circumstances and environmental conditions show up again and again and again ad infinitum, inviting us to go ahead and take the leap, to say yes, to say I do, to be born yet again. There are always opportunities to trigger more of our potential. I know that in Greg Braden's book, The God Code, he talks a great deal about this. And also in the Biology of Belief, I think, the fact that our potential genetically is brought forth as it is triggered by environmental circumstances, environmental factors. And they're everything from people, places, and things to emotions, to ideas, to beliefs. So all along in life, we have these opportunities to be triggered, to realize more of our potential. It's just extraordinary. Isn't it wonderful to be here, to be alive, and be so aware? Oh my goodness. And we're just getting started. So I think what I like best about this life beyond the honeymoon is that it's just as perfect as that initial phase, that was just packed with ideas and infinite possibility. And we could see forever, and it was so exciting we didn't want to go to sleep. There's a nice thing that Eckhart Tolle says in A New Earth. He reminds us that we can't actually live in a state of enthusiasm all the time. We'll burn out like a shooting star. However, just south of that, right next to it, in a little bit more reasonable and sustainable way of being, is the opportunity to live in joy. Still, to be creative and inspired and productive, and to be able to maintain it for long periods of time, provided that we stay aware of that relationship, with that guiding intelligence, with that ever-present love, and that power that can do it all for us. We can hang out there. We can live there. That's what life beyond the honeymoon can be like. So I hope you've jotted some things down. I hope that you're having so many revelations you've got to go home and meditate on all of them. And I know that something has awakened within each of you here today, because it has in me. And I know that the situations and circumstances are ripe and ready right now for them to be so.